What's up guys, welcome back to another video. So I recently made a video analyzing Sacred Fire Ho-Oh and Magical Leaf Celebi, which are the two new legacy moves we're going to be getting on Ho-Oh and Celebi during the upcoming Johto tour. If you watched that video, we realized that the moves are not going to be that good. However, NIANTIC just actually buffed both Sacred Fire and Magical Leaf Celebi, so these moves are actually good now. So let's take a look at the new buff Sacred Fire and Magical Leaf and how they stack up on Ho-Oh and Celebi. Let's start with Magical Leaf, which is the legacy move you're going to be able to get on Celebi if you catch one during the Johto tour. Before the damage was 9, now it's going to be 10, and before you gained 9 energy every time you used it, and now it's 10, so a little bit better there. That's for PvP. In terms of raid attackers, it used to do 15 damage, now does 16, and energy was 15, now it gains you 16. Now let's start with Celebi in raids. Is it going to be any good with this little buff? Not really. Unfortunately, Celebi is already a really bad grass type attacker, and even this minute buff to Celebi's fast move is not going to make a big difference. Taking a look at the grass type DPS, you can see, Shadow Venusaur, Mega Venusaur, Zarude, all this stuff here. And where is Celebi? It's going to be on the third page, 13.967 with the buffed Magical Leaf. I did update the stats here. Now, what about for PvP? Before I talk about it, I just want to give a huge shout out to Yonkis. Yonkis has this special version of PvPoke in which you can input the move stats before they actually come out and take a look at if they're going to be any good. And he supplied me with some charts to do my analysis. So shout out to him for the charts. You can check out his analysis of these Pokemon linked below. So on screen is the chart I'm talking about. If you don't know how to read these types of charts, on the left is going to be the Pokemon. On the top is going to be our two different Celebis. The left one is going to be with Magical Leaf, and the right one is going to be with the initial Confusion, which is the move it had before. Every time there is a blue circle, it means Celebi loses that matchup. But if there is an X, it means Celebi wins that matchup, and the darker the X, like the Swampert here, means Celebi wins that matchup by even more. As you can see here, the only difference I'm seeing is that, first of all, you are now beating Galarian Stunfisk, which is going to be huge. You beat Medicham, which actually before with the debuffed Magical Leaf, you actually didn't beat Medicham. You're beating Diggersby compared to Confusion. You're destroying Swampert now because it's a grass type move, of course. You're losing a little bit less to Jellicent because the circle is lighter, but you're losing to Alolan Ninetales more. All in all, there's not a huge difference between Confusion and the new Magical Leaf here in the Great League, but it is still definitely a buff. And if you compare it to the past Magical Leaf buff, it was so bad then, but I'm not going to show you guys that because it's not really. Okay, let's look at the Ultra League. By the way, these are flipped. Now the Confusion's on the left and the Magical Leaf is on the right. You're beating Walrein, which is a huge win for Celebi in the Ultra League. You're beating Galarian Stunfisk, losing a little less to Jellicent and Escavalier, but now you're losing to Ninetales and Sylveon. So definitely some wins here and some losses here. I just want to note all these simulations are done in the one shield scenario, so it's not going to be a perfect analysis. All in all, my take is Celebi is going to be a good Pokemon. Magical Leaf definitely makes it a little bit better, but still nothing crazy meta. Now let's take a look at Ho-Oh and Sacred Fire. Sacred Fire got buffed from 120 damage to 130 damage, and the energy was 90 for PvP and now takes 65 energy. Note Sacred Fire still has a 50% chance to debuff the opponent's attack, I believe it is. In terms of gyms and raids, it now does 120 damage, did 110. However, we also got the introduction of Sacred Fire Plus and Sacred Fire Plus Plus as well. Now, there's no actual PvP changes to these moves, but Sacred Fire Plus does 135 damage in raids, and Sacred Fire Plus Plus does 155 damage in raids, so it's just a damage buff for raids for both of these moves. Aeroblast Plus for Lugia does 200 damage now in raids, and Aeroblast Plus Plus does 225 damage in raids, which I believe is the highest damage move in the game we've ever seen. Now, we have no clue how they're going to introduce these plus moves and these plus moves. If you have any predictions, let me know below. My thoughts is maybe every time you use an Aeroblast, it'll go up a stage for your Pokemon. So as long as you can keep your Lugia alive, every time you use that charge move Aeroblast, you go up to a plus stage. So it'll kind of motivate you to dodge and keep your Pokemon alive as you will do more damage over time. Honestly, no clue how they're going to add this, but let's take a look at these moves. So in terms of a fire type raid attacker for Ho-Oh, Sacred Fire Plus Plus actually throws it in the number 2 slot behind Shadow Moltres with Incinerate Sacred Fire. 19.9396 for the Ho-Oh, 19.532. But Ho-Oh does have a lot more bulk, making it kind of a better raid attacker, I would say, in this scenario. That's a Shadow, by the way. And I'll throw the comparison of all of the 3 Ho-Ohs on screen if you want to compare plus moveset versus the plus moveset and all that stuff. Now, as far as Lugia goes, Shadow Lugia with Extra Sensory and Aeroblast Plus has a DPS of 19.408. Now, it's kind of hard to compare because it is doing non-flying fast move damage, but if you want to compare that to DPS of some of the pure flying type Pokemon, you can see Pokemon like, Shadow Staraptor in here. Shadow Moltres defeats it, but still, these are some of the comparisons. comparisons for the Shadow Lugia. Again, we don't know how these plus moves are going to be introduced, but in terms of the non-plus moves, Sacred Fire on Ho is not going to make it amazing fire type area attacker, similar to how we looked at in the other video. What about for PvP? And we're going to take a look at the Master League. Now, this is the chart on screen, and as you can see, Ho-Oh with Brave Bird and Earthquake compared to Ho-Oh with Brave Bird and Sacred Fire have the exact same matchups. Note this is in the 1 shield, so this could change if you have 2 shields or 0 shields. Literally the exact same. So all in all, Sacred Fire with Ho-Oh versus Earthquake is going to be kind of a debate, in my opinion. It's really going to depend what coverage you want, because they both pick up similar wins. There will be differences in certain scenarios. For example, against Lugia in the matchup, you can't really throw an Earthquake on a Lugia, but you can throw a Brave Bird, but then that debuffs you. So it might be better to have Brave Bird and Sacred Fire, because then you can throw Sacred Fires and that won't debuff you. And also Sacred Fire has the debuff chance, which could flip matchup. So all in all, it's really hard to tell if Earthquake or Sacred Fire is going to be the preferred option. I think you can run both and have success with both. So yeah, all in all, these buffs actually make these moves pretty good. I'm excited to see Ho-Oh with Sacred Fire in the Master League. Celebi, I don't think is going to be too insane, but those plus moves on the Aeroblast and Sacred Fire could make those Pokemon really good raid attackers. We'll have to see how those get introduced. Yeah, that's my analysis, guys. Comment below if you're excited for these new buffed Sacred Fire and Magical Leaf Celebi in Pokemon Go. I just want to note, you don't actually need a ticket to get the Sacred Fire Ho-Oh. Anyone can raid the Ho-Oh during the day and get the move, but for the Celebi, you do need the ticket if you want to get that. That's me for the video, guys. Have a great rest of your day and follow for tips, everyone. Peace.